Apple is planning to announce more than 20 new products in 2026, and today I want to show you everything we're going to be getting over the course of the next year. There are all new iPhones, iPads, Apple Watches, Macs, displays, AirPods, and even some stuff that I can't believe Apple is unveiling this soon. So I want to go in chronological order, starting off with the products dropping in just about a month or so, going later into the spring, jumping to summertime, and rounding things out with the fall that is always the biggest season of releases. According to rumors, the first new Apple product of 2026 is going to be the iPhone 17e, a new version of Apple's budget iPhone. To keep costs down, Apple will once again be using a recycled iPhone design, but this time it sounds like it'll be the iPhone 15 instead of the iPhone 14. This suggests it could be more comfortable in your hand with rounded edges, the bezels around the screen are going to get even smaller, and most notably, the notch is going away in favor of the much more modern dynamic island. One source even says that Apple could be updating the front selfie camera with the new 18 megapixel sensor, giving you the same center stage functionality that you have on the other iPhone 17 units. It'll also be a bit faster thanks to the A19 chip that could further extend battery life, and for some reason the first version didn't have MagSafe. Well, Apple is fixing that on the 17e. The iPhone 17e will now work with all of your MagSafe accessories, which is still weird that that wasn't here since day one. As for the price, it'll be sticking right around $600 and could be launching as early as February. And just after this, there's another new budget Apple product on the way, which is an ultra low-cost MacBook priced at between $600 and $700. Now, this is way cheaper than any other MacBook that the company has made in their history. So how are they accomplishing it? Well, it sounds like the design is going to be pretty basic, just with some fun colors similar to the base iPad and a small screen less than 13 inches. But the key component to making this happen is the chip on the inside. It is not going to be a Mac chip. Apple is using an iPhone chip internally, said to be the A18 Pro. Why this chip in particular? Well, as it turns out, the A18 Pro is just about as fast as the M1 and actually better in terms of single core performance, as it's based on a newer 3nm architecture, which means this budget MacBook would be getting things like ray tracing. In other words, this whole MacBook is just a full frontal assault on the low-end Chromebook and PC market. It's something we've never seen Apple properly go after before, and priced around $600, a budget MacBook could be a killer product. Following this, Apple's also planning a new kind of product for the spring, what people are calling the HomePad, which is essentially a HomePod and an iPad combined together. Sources describe this as a smart home hub for controlling automations and also doing things like FaceTime calls, as the product's going to have around a 7-inch square display with a camera and a microphone. There'll be two different versions, one that can be mounted directly to a wall, or a second one that can be attached to something like a speaker and placed on your nightstand. But we've talked about this before and it still hadn't released, so what is the holdup? Well, Apple's been waiting to announce it alongside the rebranded all-new AI Siri that has been repeatedly delayed. The one that understands your personal context, that can see what's on your screen and answer questions actually how you'd want. Apple sees the HomePad as the physical hardware to represent the new Siri, and that's why they're dropping it this spring, because Apple has confirmed that's when this new Siri is coming, and now we just have to wait and see if they can actually deliver this better Siri once and for all. Coming next in the spring are two new Apple monitors, and of everything we talk about in this video, these are probably the products I am personally most excited about. First is the Apple Studio Display 2, which will continue to have a 5K resolution, but Apple is getting rid of LCD and swapping it out for a mini LED that is going to increase the contrast and brightness by a ton. But most important is them adding 120 Hz ProMotion, as this has been leaked and it seems to be confirmed for this second-gen monitor. They're also throwing an A19 chip in here to really future-proof this, but it's the second monitor that I really have my eyes set on, and that's the 32-inch Pro Display XDR 2. Leaks suggest that Apple could be updating the 6K resolution to something even higher, like 7 or 8K, and it's going to be a new mini LED architecture underneath with less dead zones, so it looks super bright and vibrant. Along with this, Apple will also be adding the latest 120 Hz ProMotion technology too, and up top they are adding a camera for the first time, which is something that is actually directly leaked. We know it's going to have a webcam now. The only bad news about this monitor is it's still probably going to cost about $5,000, so if you want this, you should probably start saving now. A much cheaper product releasing this spring should be the AirTag 2. Now, this is also something that has seen multiple delays over the past year, and we don't actually know why Apple has been waiting to drop this. The AirTag 2 will retain its circular look, but should be harder to tamper with now, as there were some stalking issues on the first generation, so Apple is making it harder to mess with things like the speaker. Inside, there's a better U2 chip, giving you upgraded precision finding and also improved accuracy while an AirTag is moving around or in crowded areas. Plus, Apple's planning for more detailed battery level reporting, so you know ahead of time when your device is about to die. Overall, a nice update there 4 years later, which is about how long we've also been waiting on a new Apple TV 4K. This has been repeatedly delayed as well, but it should be dropping in the spring if everything finally goes to plan. This new Apple TV will continue to be a small black plastic box, but there might be a built-in camera now, one that would make native FaceTime calls a lot easier. But the biggest upgrade will be an updated chip on the inside, said to be the A17 Pro, which will make the performance of the Apple TV significantly better, adding things like ray tracing and improved graphics over the previous version. There will also be better networking performance with Apple's N1 put inside of this, handling Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Thread. Plus, it could get a rare price drop. Sources say Apple targeting around $99 for this generation, but I'm honestly a bit skeptical myself if they actually lower the price. Next, what I am sure about is that the HomePod Mini 2 will continue to cost $99, as Apple is planning the first update in almost 6 years, with new internal architecture improving sound quality, most notably powered by an S10 chip. This will also be getting Apple's N1 and could be available in a new red colorway for the first time, which does look pretty good. Now, also set to launch in spring are 4 other Apple products, but these are all just spec bump chip updates, so I want to run through these pretty quickly. The MacBook Air will be getting Apple's latest M5 chip and could see a new color similar to the sky blue that they added last year. Apple will also be announcing new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros with M5 Pro and M5 Max chips, but these are not the complete redesign and major overhaul. That's coming later in 2026, which we'll get to in a bit. Then on the iPad side of things, they're working on a new $349 base iPad updated with Apple Intelligence finally. This is going to be getting the A19 chip as it has been confirmed in software. And we'll also be getting a new iPad Air updated with the M4 chip. Although Apple keeps updating these chips and iPads, and I feel like they just continue to be great at drawing and watching videos and not a whole lot else, which actually brings me to today's sponsor of this video, Paperlike. This is the newly released Paperlike 3 screen protector that makes your iPad feel as good as actual paper because it gives you sensory feedback and stroke resistance when you move your Apple Pencil around. It's powered by the latest version of Paperlike's NanoDot Surface technology, which gives you this really nice matte appearance and also reduces reflectivity and glare. But maybe the biggest change on the Paperlike 3 is actually how you install it. They've got this new butterfly application system and it's pretty cool. Just scan a QR code and you're greeted with a custom tutorial where you wipe off your display, dry it, and then align the screen protector with this multi-tool they have, and you end up getting this flawless alignment at the end, and it is by far the cleanest install I've ever done. It was also pretty cool, and you can tell a lot of thought went into it. In other words, if you're somebody that uses an Apple Pencil with an iPad, the Paperlike 3 is a must-have. So use my link down below in the description to get one for yourself, and a huge thank you to Paperlike for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the rest of these new Apple products. It's always hit or miss whether we get hardware in the summer, but this year it seems all but confirmed, and it could be led off with a resurrection of an old fan favorite. Leak code has now shown that Apple has a prototype iMac Pro on the table that would be equipped with the powerful M5 Max chip. Since Apple killed off the previous 27-inch iMac a few years ago, there just hasn't been a true replacement in the lineup, especially at the same price point. And I think it's a now or never moment for this product. We've been hearing about it for so long. Apple is either finally dropping this year or this prototype is canned and it never sees the light of day. What we will definitely be seeing this summer regardless are new versions of the Mac Studio equipped with M5 Max and M5 Ultra chips, their most powerful versions ever. But don't expect any other major updates here, which will also be true for the new Mac Mini. Apple's also updating this in the summer with M5 and M5 Pro chips, as it will have been about a year and a half since the previous gen launched, and it's time for an upgrade. But really all of this just feels like Apple tying up loose ends ahead of the fall, because the first new product coming in September is the iPhone 18 Pro and the iPhone 18 Pro Max. These will have similar aluminum unibody designs, but now the back glass will blend more seamlessly with the rest of the metal. The front will look completely different, with Apple moving the front selfie camera all the way to the top left-hand corner, as it's now just a single hole punch, because Apple has finally finally found a way to move the Face ID hardware completely beneath the screen, so it's going to look pretty seamless and gets Apple one step closer to a completely unobstructed display. They'll also be increasing the resolution of the selfie camera from 18 to 24 megapixels, but way bigger camera upgrades are visible on the back, with the main lens now seeing a variable aperture housing. This will allow you full manual control of how much light enters the lens and touches the new camera sensor, giving you a way better depth of field when you're shooting content. However, this does come with a cost, as Apple needs to increase the depth of the iPhone, so they'll be thicker than ever and also the heaviest iPhones ever made too. Apple will utilize some of this space for a larger battery, but the big internal upgrade will be the A20 processor, which is Apple's first based on a 2nm architecture, packing more transistors into a smaller area and increasing both power and efficiency dramatically. And connectivity is getting boosted too, with an even higher performance Apple C-Series modem, one that supports the fastest millimeter wave type of 5G, and satellite connectivity is expanding even further to support full satellite internet, so you'll be able to browse the web from anywhere in the world, regardless of if you have cell reception. But while the 18 Pros are pretty cool, the headline iPhone of the fall is going to be the Ultra, as Apple plans to unveil their first ever folding iPhone with a book-style design that opens left and right around a central hinge. When you open this device up, it'll have a massive 7.7-inch display, and it'll also be the thinnest Apple product ever when it's unfolded. And the key upgrade is that Apple's foldable will not have this crease that has plagued every other folding phone in existence to date. Apple has said to have solved this through R&D, and they've manufactured a way to create a truly seamless display, which by itself will make Apple's foldable look way more premium than anything else on the market. But there will be some caveats, like the inner screen will have a single hole punch camera just like the 18 Pro, although here there isn't enough room to put Face ID anywhere, so Apple is actually bringing back Touch ID through the power button on the side. Because this is a foldable, you'll also need a secondary outer display, but Apple's is going to be way smaller than the competition, coming in around 5.3 inches, which is smaller than the iPhone mini back in the day. And as for cameras, there are only two on the iPhone Ultra. There's a wide and an ultra wide, both featuring the latest 48 megapixel sensors, so images will look great, but there just wasn't enough room to pack a telephoto lens inside, which could be a tough sell on the most expensive iPhone ever, said to start at $2,000. Everything else is going to be more. That's the cheapest one you'll be able to buy is around $2,000, and that is insane for a phone. I'd also use the word insane to describe the new version of AirPods Pro 4 coming in the fall that Apple is said to build with cameras inside. I promise this is actually real. Apple's next pair of AirPods Pro is said to use cameras in conjunction with Apple Intelligence to tell you about the world around you and interpret things in real time. But I'm just thinking of the privacy implications here. Everybody has cameras pointing down from their head? What? Don't know about that one. To be fair, we're definitely filling in the blanks here and we don't have all the information we should, but I still hear AirPods cameras and I'm just really skeptical of the world those will exist in. As for new Apple Watches, sources are currently split on whether the Series 11 and Ultra 4 will be the biggest updates ever or absolutely minor changes. Seriously, one source is reporting that all 2026 watches are getting a major revamp, while the other source says there's no design changes happening at all until 2028. And as of right now, it's anybody's guess as to who could be right. Other rumors, though, are more exciting. Sources saying that Apple is planning to double the number of sensors internally on both the Series 11 and Ultra 4, with Apple trying to get less of a reliance on algorithms and more hard data. It's said that apparently these algorithms have a negative effect on battery life, so by reducing the computation, you could see better battery life as well. However, there is one Apple Watch rumor that stands above the rest, and that's one that says Touch ID is coming. And this is not from a sketchy source. There is Apple code directly from within the company that references Touch ID being present on a watch. This was actually a feature that we heard about years ago, and since then nothing ever materialized, but perhaps Apple's finally going to build it into the digital crowns. You can scan your finger for Apple Pay and authenticate in that way, which would be a bit more secure than just double tapping a button. Now, speaking of products with Touch ID, Apple's also been working on a new iPad mini, but this time around, they are turning it into the Pro device that we've always wanted to see. According to sources, Apple is planning to put an OLED display on the iPad mini later in 2026, which would give the device a massive jump over the cheap LCD panel and increase contrast, color accuracy, vibrancy, and most importantly, the black levels. The new screen is said to be part of a broader chassis redesign, one that is significantly more water resistant, where you could fully submerge the iPad mini and it would be okay, including Apple's implementation of an all-new type of speaker, one that doesn't require speaker holes to be present on the device at all. Instead, Apple would be employing a new type of tech that uses vibration and channels it through something like the screen to produce sound. I mean, clearly something at Apple changed here, because the iPad mini went from being nearly forgotten about to now this major Pro update device, one that will actually cost a bit more too. Rumors saying a $100 price increase, bringing it to about $599 starting. It sounds like it'll be worth the wait, which is something I can also say about the new MacBook Pro. For the second time in 2026, Apple is planning to update this, but this generation with a complete redesign from the ground up. The new MacBook Pro will have a redesigned chassis that is both thinner and lighter than the current generation, slotting right in between the current thick MacBook Pro and the ultra-thin MacBook Air. But the reason you're going to want to buy this is it's Apple's first MacBook with an OLED display. They are getting rid of mini LED, and although that was pretty good, OLED is going to increase the contrast even further and just give you these black levels that are true Pro quality. But in addition to that, this new MacBook Pro is also said to be a touchscreen. And while I was incredibly skeptical of initially hearing that, we have now heard from multiple independent sources that this OLED panel is not just going to look great, it is going to be redesigned to work with a new version of macOS that you can touch. Apple's also removing the notch at the same time here, giving this MacBook Pro dynamic island for the first time, and we've seen them hint about this, adding live activity support in the status bar. With dynamic island, just like on the iPhone, it'll all be native with things happening in a central location. But unfortunately, Face ID will not be present. The lid of the MacBook is just too thin at this point, so Apple will be maintaining the same Touch ID key position on the keyboard. So it'll be there once again, and Face ID is in the works, just still years away. Powering this experience will be Apple's first 2nm chips, the M6 Pro and the M6 Max, giving you crazy performance with even better efficiency. And according to at least one rumor, we could see Apple put a C-series cellular modem, enabling native 5G connectivity on the MacBook for the first time in the product line's history. And in a normal year, this would mark the end of the video. I go home, you go on your way, because there's no other Apple products left. I mean, we've talked about every product category, except two new ones that Apple is said to be entering before the end of the year. First, Apple has been working on a home security camera that is said to be a competitor to some Ring devices, where you can monitor the internals of your home with things like face detection to tell you who's where and what's going on. But because this is an entirely new thing, Apple's kept it really locked down, so we only know the device is battery powered, it lasts about a year, and it has infrared sensors. Now, I heard this, I'm like, there's no way Apple's making a home security camera, this doesn't make any sense. But there has been extensive reporting over the past few months saying that Apple does want a true chance to enter the smart home. They are making things like a Face ID doorbell as well coming later down the road, so this is just the first step in doing that. This leaves us with one last product coming in 2026, which, believe it or not, yes, is going to be the Apple Smart Glasses. But I want to be super clear with this. These are not the full-on futuristic augmented reality end goal that Apple has always wanted. These are like a dumbed-down version similar to Meta Ray-Bans. Sources say Apple Glass will be able to capture content or make phone calls and play music, including some light augmented reality stuff like turn-by-turn directions. Internally, Apple sees these as a fashion accessory similar to the first Apple Watch, so they'll be available in different styles and colors. And of course, offering custom prescription lenses too, because at the end of the day, these are glasses. The company is even developing a proprietary chip just for these, specifically made so that all these features work the best that they can be and extend battery life to hopefully more than a few hours, because there isn't a lot of space in glasses for batteries. I don't know, I'm not sure how to feel about these. The glasses sound interesting, and I'm excited we're going to be seeing these sooner than I thought. I mean, we'd heard glasses were years away, but it really sounds like after Vision Pro, Apple is looking for a big win, and these could be their entry point on there. Nonetheless, 2026 is going to be one for the books. We've got new iPhones, new iPads, new Macs, new monitors, new Apple Watches, AirPads, and new home products 2+ glasses. I can't remember another year in recent history that was supposed to be this stacked. So if you want to know when these come out, hit subscribe. We talk about Apple products here. It would help me and the channel out as well if you hit the like button if you enjoy the video, of course. I've been Sam. I hope you're doing great, and I will see you in the next video. 2026, I'm ready.